Hello everyone, welcome back to the Code Syndicate. In this video, we will discuss mutability in Rust as well as implicit declaration of variables. Till now, when declaring variables, we are explicitly mentioning the data type as well. But in Rust, we have a concept of implicit declaration of variables, where we leave compiler to decide the data type of the variable. Let's look at the example. Before this video, we are declaring Rust variables with mentioning the types of data it will store. For example, let number colon I8 equals, let's say, 50. Here we are explicitly telling the Rust compiler that this variable name will store a I8 integer. But in Rust, we can also declare any variable, let's say in this case an integer, without specifying the data type. For example, we can write this way as well. To verify if it works or not, we can print the number. Run the code. Here you can see we have 50 in the output. So we can conclude this code is working here. Now, in this case, we are leaving the compiler to decide type of data this variable name will store. In this case, an integer. Now, let's see this example to understand how implicit declaration of a variable or the data type works in Rust. Run the code. Here in the first statement, we have a num variable which is assigned to the integer 50. In second statement, we have variable n which will have a I8 data type and which is assigned to integer 3. And move into the third statement. In this statement, we have a result which will be a I8 data type and which will be the equal to num plus n. This variable num n plus n. Now in this case, we have this n. This n variable is explicitly defined as a I8 data type. But in this case, this num variable is not explicitly defined. So in this case, compiler implicitly defined this number as I8 type. If you remember, we cannot add or multiply or divide two different integer data types. That is, we cannot do arithmetic operations with I8 data types or let's say I32 data types. We cannot add a I8 data type and I32 data type. So for the arithmetic operation, we need to have two equal data types. In this case, as the result is I8 and this number n is also I8, so the compiler will decide this num variable, which is also a I8 data type, depending on this situation. This is how implicit declaration of data types works in Rust. Now, what happens when we have only one statement, that is, this number is not dependent on other data types? As we discussed in the previous part, this num is not dependent of any variable or any data type. So in this case, this num will be a I32 type of integer. So by default, Rust will implicitly declare any integer as I32 unless it is dependent to other data types or other variable. By the same way, if we are storing a float, let's say 50.16, the Rust compiler will automatically declare this num variable as a F32 type of float. Hope you understood how implicit declaration of variable works in Rust. You will get to know more about the implicit declaration of variables when we will proceed further with this series. Now, let's discuss mutability. Now, how this mutability concept arrives in Rust is by the fact that any variable you declare in Rust is by default immutable in nature. Immutability means you cannot change the value of a variable once it is declared. For example, let's try to change this num variable to, let's say, 40. Num equal 40. Let's run the code. Here we got error. The error is cannot assign twice to immutable variable. As I have said, Rust variables are by default immutable in nature. This means you cannot change the value of the variable by any means. Let's say if you are trying to add any number to this num variable, you cannot do it as well. For example, num plus 2. Run the code. We have got the same error. Cannot assign twice to immutable variable. So to make this variable mutable, we have to add an extra keyword mute after the let keyword and before the variable. Now run this code. Here we got 52. So we can conclude that to change any variable or to change value of any variable, we need to make the variable mutable by placing mute keyword after the let keyword or before the variable. In this case, we have let mute num. That is, this num variable is now mutable, and we have done this number plus 2. That is, we increment this num by 2 and we got the answer 52. So I hope you understood mutability and immutability in Rust. We will know more about mutability and immutability features of Rust when we learn more about Rust, and that will be coming in next few videos. So stay tuned for more Rust content and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.